Right now, you are floating in a place that looks like paradise, and you are completely confused. Suddenly, a man appears emitting a blinding light. It is God. But he does not greet you with booming trumpets, but with an awkward apology. It turns out he ran out of coffee this morning, overslept, and whoops made you disappear from the world a little earlier than planned. To make up for this little divine clerical error, he offers you a deal, a second life. Before your brain can process this craziness, he snaps his fingers and the wheel of destiny appears. An infinite roulette wheel with millions of possible lives. You grab the wheel and spin it with all your might, silently praying you do not come back as something pathetic like a snail or an accountant. The wheel spins until it stops on a slot as red as blood. The word appears clearly. Assassin. The look of disgust on your face is so obvious that even the creator feels awkward. So, like a used car salesman, he offers you a bonus. He lets you try before you buy. He hands you a deck of cards describing different types of historical assassins. You look at the first card and decide to play. You choose the destiny of the Sicarii. You wake up in a strange room with a headache that feels like it is splitting your skull in two. As your vision clears, the memories of this body flood your mind like a violent torrent. You are in the year 73 AD. The location is the fortress of Masada in the region of Jerusalem. It seems God has a twisted sense of humor because he has sent you to the most desperate moment in the history of the Sicarii. You look out the window and see the brutal reality. You are completely surrounded by the all-powerful Roman legion. The only good news is that you are in a fortress built on an almost unreachable plateau, an eagle's nest that has kept the invaders at bay until now. You are just learning to move your new fingers when a deep, terrifying sound cuts through the air. It is a war horn. There is no time to adjust. A new wave of Roman attacks has begun. The sound of the war horn does not paralyze you. On the contrary, it injects liquid fire into your veins. You feel a wave of heat, a delirious confidence that makes you believe you alone could tear apart the entire enemy empire. You adjust your tanned leather armor, grab your weapons by instinct, and run toward the defensive point assigned to you. Your position is at the very top of the cliff, and your task is primitive but lethal. You must push massive rocks down the slope every time the ranks of Roman soldiers try to ascend the narrow path. Maybe it is because your only function is to let gravity do the dirty work, or maybe because this body you inhabit is already desensitized to violence, but you do not feel even a drop of fear when looking into the abyss. You look over the edge and see the shining shields below. You push. The first rock falls bouncing violently against the canyon walls, gaining terrifying speed. When it impacts, the sound is nauseating. A mix of crushed metal and pulverized bones that rises up to your ears. You repeat the process again and again. Your muscles scream from the effort, dust fills your lungs, and sweat blinds you. You watch the perfect formation of the Legion break into panic before the rain of death you send them. You do not know how much time has passed in this frenzy, but finally the horn sounds again. This time is different. It is the sound of victory. The Romans are retreating. The euphoria of victory fills the air. That night people dance and sing. In the middle of the celebration, a beautiful woman approaches you. Your body memory instantly recognizes her as the love of your life. Together you seek refuge in the darkness, sharing secrets and passion, trying to forget for a few hours that death sleeps outside. But war does not respect romance. When dawn breaks, the war horn sounds again. You run to your position, expecting another bloody battle, but the landscape has changed drastically. The Romans do not attack. Instead, they have forced thousands of Jewish slaves to build a giant dirt ramp on the west flank. It is a masterstroke of psychological cruelty. Your comrades lower their bows with shaking hands, unable to shoot at their own people. But you are a stranger in this unit, a pragmatic intruder. You know that mercy is a luxury they cannot afford. You are one of the few who shoots arrows staining your hands with the blood of innocents to try to stop the construction. It is a horrible day. The group's morale sinks faster than the stones they throw. The leader tries to motivate them with speeches about the nation and God, but the words have no effect. 2 months of slow mental torture pass. Finally, the ramp is completed, eliminating the fortress's height advantage. The narrow path no longer matters. The Roman legion marches comfortably up the artificial slope, pushing a monstrous siege tower directly against the walls. Without the geographical advantage, you and the Sicarii are crushed and forced to retreat. The Romans set fire to the wooden defensive wall, and the flames consume the last hope. At nightfall, the enemy withdraws to their camps to rest, letting the fire finish its work. You watch the flames, and the truth hits you in the gut. Tomorrow, when the fire dies out, the fortress will fall. On that fateful night, your leader makes a decision that borders on absolute madness. With hypnotic oratory, he convinces everyone that God has abandoned his people because Jerusalem has already fallen. He tells them that voluntary departure is not a defeat, but the last divine gift to die as free men and not as Roman slaves. But there is a huge theological problem, which is that taking one's own life is an unforgivable sin in their faith. So they decide to cheat divine law with a macabre solution. Everyone will kill each other. In this way, technically, only the last man will bear the guilt of self-elimination, while the others will simply be homicide victims. To ensure total obedience, the leader describes in graphic detail how the Romans will humiliate, rape, and enslave their wives and children. Fear of dishonor ignites the men's fatal determination. Everyone agrees to the pact. The air fills with stifled sobs as fathers begin to snuff out the lives of their own families. And you are no exception. You approach the woman you loved last night. Your mind screams at you to stop to run, but this assassin's body has a will of its own. Your hands move on their own with cold efficiency, and you take the life of the only person you cared about in this hell. After the initial massacre, you walk on a river of blood. A drawing is held to choose 10 men who will execute the rest of the surviving males. Lady Luck spits in your face, and you are chosen to continue this path of pain. You continue the slaughter, going from eliminating your love to eliminating your own brothers in arms. When only 10 people are left alive, the final drawing takes place. One must finish off the remaining 9. And of course, with absolutely no surprise, you are the chosen one. You realize that God did not give you a prize. He gave you a VIP experience in hell. You eliminate the 9 comrades. Now you are the last living being in the fortress. You are standing alone, surrounded by almost 1,000 silent corpses. You fulfill your last mission. You set fire to the fortress so that the Romans find nothing but ashes and silence. Finally, with the fire licking at your heels, you raise your sword against yourself and end this nightmare. You wake up with a jolt, returning to the white light of heaven. Your first instinct is not to pray, but to clench your fist and fight the urge to punch the Creator in the face. You are furious. You scream at him that was not the life of an elite assassin, but a tragedy full of dust and suffering. This is not what you wanted. God backs away, visibly embarrassed. He knows he has given his client a bad first experience this time. To calm your anger, he promises that the next option will be exactly the definition of stealth and death. He offers you the deck again with an apologetic smile. You accept grudgingly and draw the next card to test your luck. You wake up in an austere Japanese-style room. This time you have chosen the path of the ninja. But unlike the noisy and bloody chaos of the Sicarii, this new life leaves you completely baffled. Forget everything you saw in the movies. Here, there are no tight black latex suits nor visual magic techniques. In fact, it looks like you have entered a boring farm life simulator. You get up before dawn to till the land and go to bed at dusk. Your diet is a torture of blandness. You only eat tofu, brown rice, sesame vegetables, and very occasionally some quail. But your body memory reveals the lethal logic behind this. A ninja strictly avoids foods with strong odors like garlic onion or game meat. When you hide inches from the enemy, your own breath or the smell of your sweat can be the betrayal that leads you to the grave. You continue with this farce of a humble farmer until one day you find something strange at the door of your house. There are a few colored grains of rice on the ground. To anyone else, it would look like food dropped by a bird or a careless mistake of yours. But for you, it is a military code. 1 yellow grain, 1 white, and 1 black. The signal is crystal clear. Tonight, the enemy supply warehouse must burn to the ground. Night falls over your fake farm. You cover the embers in the fireplace with ash and press a hidden switch under that gray dust. The wooden floorboards open silently, revealing your true arsenal. Forget the black suit you see in the movies. In reality, that would make you stand out against the night sky. You put on a tight, dark green tunic designed to blend in with the vegetation and natural darkness. You pack your tools, hooks, and weapons and go out on the hunt. It is between 2 and 3 in the morning, the dead of night. You know by experience that this is the moment when the human biological clock falls to its lowest point. The guards are not just tired, their brains are programmed to shut down. You slip through the bushes, taking advantage of every shadow invisible to the patrols that are asleep on their feet. You reach the feudal lord's castle. It is a formidable fortress surrounded by a deep moat and curved stone walls impossible to scale without being detected. The main entrance is suicide, so you choose the most humiliating path, the drainage canal. A guard watches near the sewage outlet. You use a classic distraction tactic, making noise in the east, to attack in the west. You throw a stone far from your position. The sharp sound alerts the guard, who moves away to investigate. In that moment of distraction, you move fast as the wind and slip inside the drainage tunnel. You crawl through the filth, enduring the stench and the dirt until you manage to get out inside the walls. But you face a serious problem. The sewer stench is too strong. It could reveal your position from yards away. You are a professional paranoid and had already foreseen this. You had wrapped clean and dry clothes in several layers of waterproof oiled paper. Now you just have to wash yourself. You head silently toward the garden pond and submerge yourself to the bottom to clean the dirt off your body. When surfacing, you quickly change clothes. Now you are a clean and lethal ghost again. You scale the inner walls, avoid the last patrols, and reach your target, the Great Rice Warehouse. You spray oil everywhere and take out the flint. A single spark is sufficient. The fire roars violently, consuming the dry wood and the grain. With the orange light illuminating the night, you withdraw immediately before the alarm sounds. As you retreat across the rooftops, your instinct screams at you that something is wrong. The warehouse is an inferno of flames, but the silence is absolute. There are no alarm bells, no screams of panic. From your high position, you look down at the courtyard. A human figure engulfed in fire runs out of the warehouse. The poor bastard tries to reach the lake, but collapses and dies charred before touching the water. However, the horror you feel is not for his death, but for the way he moved. Even in his agony, he kept his center of gravity low and his steps light. You recognize that posture. It is the running style characteristic of your own clan. Anxiety hits you in the chest. It is a trap. You run toward the outer wall and stop dead in your tracks. Hundreds of torches illuminate the perimeter. The feudal lord's entire army was already deployed, waiting for you. There is no way out. You know that if you stay still, they will hunt you down like a rat. Your brain works a mile a minute and you decide to up the ante. If they expected you to burn the warehouse, surely they did not expect you to burn the rest of the castle. You move fast and set fire to the residential and administrative buildings that were not protected. The plan works. Real panic breaks out when the fire threatens the Lord's quarters. You take advantage of the chaos of the soldiers trying to put out the new fires and slip through a gap in the surveillance. You run back to your farm with your heart in your throat, seeking the safety of your shelter. You reach your door panting and enter. But you barely take a step when you feel a sudden sharp pain in your calf. You look down and see a small dart stuck in your muscle. It is paralyzing poison. Before you can even curse your legs, give way, your vision blurs, and darkness swallows you completely. You open your eyes and a wave of pain hits you. You are chained and suspended in the air. When your vision stabilizes, you see a group of people in front of you. You recognize the feudal lord of the castle, an elite guard, and a huge man who is clearly the executioner. But what really impacts you is the man to the lord's right. You recognize his clothing. He belongs to the rival ninja clan, the sworn enemies of your family. You know a brutal interrogation awaits you, so you decide to activate your emergency plan. You use your tongue to search for the poison capsule hidden in your false tooth and end this fast. But you only find an empty hole. The rival ninja lets out a mocking laugh and extends his hand. In his palm rests your false tooth. He asks you sarcastically if that is what you are looking for. He shakes his head and says he has rotten luck. He tells you that on a sunny day he caught one of your comrades. After getting up close and personal, he discovered his rice grain code. He placed the marks, hoping your whole team would gather and flee toward the lair so he could track them. But sadly, no one came back. He continues saying that the previous 4 were stubborn and did not talk, and now they are 4 corpses. He hopes you will not be number 5. The signal is given, and the torture begins. Pain becomes your only world, but your training allows you to keep silence. Upon obtaining no information, they leave you alone, hanging like a side of beef. The rival ninja tells you to rest for tomorrow. You wait in silence until you are sure they are gone. It is time to use the forbidden technique. You know that the handcuffs fasten on the wrist bone and the thumb. You take a deep breath and do the unthinkable. With a sudden and powerful movement, you dislocate your own thumb, breaking the joint to fold it inside the palm of your hand. The pain is horrible, but it reduces the width of your hand enough to free yourself from the iron shackle. You fall to the ground with your body bruised and one hand useless. But you still have one last trick. You use your teeth to tear open an old bulging scar on your thigh. Blood gushes out, revealing a small razor blade that you had implanted under your skin years ago for situations like this. There is no way out of the castle, but there is a way to secure the clan's secrets. You hold the small blade with your good hand and repeat the choice you made at the fortress of Masada. You choose to go out on your own terms before they return. You return to heaven, but this time there are no screams or attempts at fighting. You look at the Creator and ask him a direct question. Do you hate me that much? No matter how the story starts, it always ends in a tragedy and with me taking my own life. God does not flinch. He throws the question back at you with icy calm. Is there a better ending for people who work in jobs like this? Do you think there is a happy retirement for those who make a living from death? Faced with God's question, your mind goes blank and you cannot answer. You try to justify yourself. You say it is unfair that those bodies had memories of their own and acted alone in critical moments as if you were a simple passenger. You insist that if you could control the body voluntarily, you would have made better decisions and would have survived. God lets out a short laugh and offers you a challenge. Fine. He will give you total control. You will be the absolute master of every movement. But in exchange, the protection mechanism will disappear. You will have to endure everything the character feels. Every blow, every broken bone, every ounce of sadness and pain will reach your brain at 100%. Without filters, without anesthesia, you feel a knot in your stomach. Fear runs down your spine, but your ego is bigger than your common sense. You accept the deal. With your hand trembling slightly because of what you just signed up for, you take the next assassin card. That familiar sensation hits you again. A brutal headache blinds you momentarily, while someone else's memories flood your brain by force. You have drawn the King of Assassins card. The former owner of this body not only possessed assassination skills that border on the supernatural, but he controlled a squad of assassins that makes the criminal world tremble. But at this moment, power or strength mean nothing to you. Your mind is obsessed with God's last words before the synchronization. You must complete this body's mission to be able to return. The problem is that although you have memories of how to kill a person with a pencil, you have no idea what the final mission of this body is. Suddenly, you hear knocking on the door. A male voice informs you from outside that a request from a high-priority client has arrived. You open the door. In front of you is a young man with black hair with a sleep mask lifted onto his forehead. According to your memories, this is number 6. He informs you straight up, a powerful drug lord has put a price on his rival's head. The offer is $7 million immediate payment. Your instinct tells you to accept. Maybe this is the mission. Maybe you just have to kill this guy, and you will be free. But your experience from the previous 2 lives screams at you that nothing is that easy. You know that if you are not careful, this will end in tragedy. You decide not to make mistakes. With your authority, you order the entire team to assemble. 15 minutes later, your team of assassins has fully assembled in the boardroom. You quickly evaluate your 7 subordinates. Number 1 is the embodiment of lethal elegance, dressed like a modern aristocrat in a tailored suit and black leather gloves. You notice he looks at the other 6 with absolute disdain, as if they were insects. Number 2 is the complete opposite, a loudmouth covered in gold and diamonds, who constantly tries to convince the others to invest in his new crypto scam. Number 3 is a mass of scarred muscle, a fierce man who growls at his colleagues but looks at you with absolute respect. The next one is a common-looking man dressed discreetly, but his eyes move constantly, capturing every detail of the room, like a surveillance camera. They call him Number 4. Number 5 is a terribly obese man who eats non-stop even during the meeting. And finally, there is Number 7, the only woman in the group with a captivating beauty and a confidence that fills the room. Her eyes shine with a danger that could hypnotize anyone. You wait until everyone is seated and silence reigns. With a firm voice, you announce the target assassinate a drug kingpin for a reward of $7 million. The initial reaction is quite indifferent. For them, this is routine. However, when you add that this mission will require the joint participation of all 7 members, the atmosphere changes completely. Their faces show genuine surprise. Number 2 is the first to break the silence. He raises his hand and openly questions your logic. He asks why it is necessary to mobilize everyone for a medium difficulty mission. He immediately demands to handle the mission alone, and you cannot help but notice the greed in his eyes as he calculates that he could keep the $7 million for himself alone. Before you can react, Number 3 slams the table with fury, shouting insults at Number 2 for daring to question one of your orders. Number 2 simply shrugs, trying to justify that he is only trying to optimize resources for you. Suddenly, silence falls again. 7 pairs of eyes lock onto you, waiting for your final verdict. You start to feel insecure. You think that maybe you exaggerated, that maybe they will suspect if you act irrationally. You try to keep calm. With a sigh, you cave and say that it is fine, let it be done, as Number 2 says. Barely finishing the sentence, the temperature of the room drops below 0. The look of respect transforms instantly into bloodlust. Number 1 speaks with a cold and sharp voice. He asks you who you really are. He says that the manager never changes a decision once made. You try to regain your composure, raising your voice, threatening these insolent subordinates, but it is already too late. You have just signed your own death warrant. Number 1 pulls a knife from his sleeve with a speed that the human eye can barely follow. You do not even have time to raise your hand. You feel the cold blade pierce your neck, and you fall to the floor, choking on your own blood. As your vision blurs and life abandons you, you hear Number 2's voice in the distance. He says with a bored tone that you were indeed an imposter, because if you were the real manager, the one who would be dead on the floor right now would be Number 1. You have died. You wake up with a start, frantically bringing your hand to your neck, looking for the wound that should be there. There is no blood. There is no cut. You remain paralyzed for a moment, breathing heavily, wondering if it was all just a horrible nightmare. But you immediately dismiss that idea. The pain of the blade cutting your throat was too real, too intense to be a simple illusion. You look around. You are in the King of Assassins' luxurious room, totally intact. Suddenly, you hear the sound that confirms your fate. History repeats itself. Number 6's voice resonates from the other side of the door, repeating exactly the same words you heard before dying. Immediately, cold reality hits you. You have returned to square one. Now you understand God's cruel warning. You cannot return to heaven, nor can you even die in peace until you complete the mission. And you learn another lesson the hard way. Having the king's memories does not make you the king. One slip up, one sign of weakness, and your own wolves will devour you. You must act with absolute precision. You adjust your mask of coldness and enter the meeting room. The scene is identical. The same familiar faces, the same arrogance of Number 1. But this time, you flip the script. With a voice that brooks no argument, you point at number 3. You order him to handle the mission alone. No one objects. Number 3 nods with fanatical gratitude for the opportunity you have given him. The meeting ends without corpses. Back in your room, you sigh with relief, but the anxiety returns. You wonder what the true mission is. Killing a drug kingpin is something trivial for this unit. That cannot be the final objective. You search your memories and notice a disturbing detail. No one calls you king, everyone calls you manager. The conclusion is clear and terrifying. Your mission is not to complete a job, but to become the true king of assassins, to earn the title that this body still does not fully deserve in the eyes of the world. This is a mission too difficult for you. You feel desperate. But then a spark ignites. You do not just have the memories of the king of assassins, but also those of your 2 previous identities, the Sicarii and the ninja. You will train. You will combine the experience of the 3 identities to create the ultimate weapon. You decide to start with the basics. Physical training. You mentally prepare yourself to suffer, but what you discover leaves you stunned. The body you inhabit is not human. It is a perfectly tuned biological machine. Your speed is extraordinary. Your strength is lethal, and your flexibility defies all laws of anatomy. When you wield a knife or a gun, you do not even need to think. Your hands move on their own, guided by muscle memory, forged in thousands of battles. In that moment, the truth hits you. The problem is not the vehicle, the problem is the driver. The King of Assassins' body is a weapon of mass destruction, but you, the consciousness controlling it, are too slow. Your reflexes have a delay of milliseconds, and in your world, that means death. You decide to change strategy. You dig deep into the memories of your past lives and design a hellish training regimen focused solely on reflexes. You blindfold yourself and practice dodging pendulums swinging unpredictably. You toss a handful of coins into the air and try to catch them all before they hit the ground. You subject yourself to reaction tests with strobe lights to sharpen your visual perception. You train with a manic obsession, sweating to eliminate every weakness. But you are so focused on improving yourself that you make a rookie mistake. You do not watch your surroundings. From the shadows of an upper balcony, a figure watches you in silence. It is number 1. His cold eyes analyze your every move. To him, this is not training to improve. It is a sign of decline. He thinks age is finally catching up with you, that the old lion is losing his claws. A cruel, ambition-filled smile appears on his face. If the king is weak, maybe the time has come for a new leader to take power. During the monthly meeting, something unexpected happens. Number 1, with a defiant tone, requests a friendly sparring match with you. This request explodes like a bomb in the room. The other 6 members freeze. Number 7 leans toward number 2 and whispers with fear, asking if number 1 has lost his mind. All of them clearly remember your previous training sessions. Training with the manager never ended with one's body intact. It is a physical and mental pain that haunts them to this day, even long after graduating. You do not react immediately. You simply stare at number 1. You do not blink. You do not move. That silence turns into psychological pressure that engulfs the entire room. Number 1 begins to doubt himself. Beads of cold sweat appear on his forehead. His mind starts racing. He thinks you know. He believes you discovered he was watching you, and that your weakness during training was a trap to test his loyalty. While they tremble imagining your wrath, the truth is that the only scared person is you. You know very well that if you accept the fight right now, you will die. You are not yet ready to face him. You maintain your calm appearance and utter 3 words that destroy his self-esteem. You are not worthy. Then you sweep the room with a murderous glare. Everyone lowers their heads, avoiding your gaze at all costs. You stand up slowly and leave the room without looking back, leaving number 1 red-faced with shame. Upon reaching your room, you close the door and collapse to the floor. Your gamble paid off. Just when you thought the training days would pass peacefully, a deafening roar breaks the silence, leaving your ears ringing. The bunker's reinforced steel door flies off its hinges as if it were a sheet of paper. Through the smoke and debris, a heavily armed tactical squad bursts into the room. They move fast looking for your position. They are not amateurs, but you are no longer the same as before. You have managed to partially adapt to the reflexes of the manager's body. You move like a ghost hiding behind the wall. As soon as the first one enters, you disarm him by breaking his elbow joint, use his body as a human shield, shoot the second one in the head, and neutralize the third one with a lethal blow to the throat. It is a fluid and brutal dance of death. You manage to escape the kill zone, leaving a trail of corpses behind. Following your memories, you run towards the secret emergency exit. Upon reaching the tunnel door, you see number 1 with his back to you. With adrenaline still coursing through your veins, you put your hand on his shoulder and scream at him to run, that the base has been compromised. The answer is a sharp and familiar pain in your stomach. You look down. A combat knife is buried in you up to the handle. Again. You fall to your knees, coughing up blood. You look up. Number 1 no longer has his usual coldness. He has a maniacal smile, completely out of control, warping his face. But at the same time, tears of pain run down his cheeks. It is the face of a broken man. Darkness swallows you, and you wake up with a start in your room. The feeling is indescribable. You know that number 1 is the traitor. However, strangely, you do not feel hate. The manager rescued the 7 from human traffickers, but at the same time trained them since they were kids with inhuman methods. For them, the manager was both a father and the monster who stole their childhood and their humanity. The final image of his face, laughing and crying, remains etched in your mind. And then the relentless sound of fate resonates again. The vicious cycle begins again. This time, everything runs smoothly. You have managed to synchronize with 60% of the original body's capabilities. Number 1 watches you train and no longer sees any weakness. He only sees the deadly perfection he is used to. There are no longer doubts, only obedience. Convinced that your mission is to become the king of assassins, you gather your 7 apostles of death. You give them the new objective: total domination of the underworld. No one objects. Everyone nods, ready to follow your orders to the ends of the earth. Using the black market's encrypted communication channels, you issue a global recruitment call. Your reputation is so legendary that it becomes an irresistible magnet. Mercenary snipers and psychopaths from all over the world answer your call to serve under your banner. Your squad of 8 people quickly transforms into a private army of hundreds of elite assassins. If the criminal world respected you before, now they fear you absolutely. The other criminal organizations kneel before you or are exterminated. But all that noise finally wakes up the only beast bigger than you, the government. The cleanup operations begin. At first, the war is quite balanced. Your men attack like ghosts from the shadows, assassinating high-ranking officials and sowing terror within the government. For a while, you have the upper hand, crushing your opponents with brutality. But then the state stops playing cops and robbers and sends in the army. This is no longer a battle. It is a one-sided massacre. Your organization is being destroyed piece by piece before numerical and technological superiority. Now the army is right at the gates of your base. You hear explosions outside and the desperate screams of Team 7 who sacrifice themselves uselessly trying to stop the advance of an unstoppable force. You sit in the leather armchair in the relative silence of the room. On the table is a loaded gun. You hear the army's footsteps in the hallway getting closer and closer. You understand that this method has failed. You pick up the gun calmly. Loop 148. You have tried everything. You have tried eliminating the competition one by one. You have tried buying the underworld with financial empires. You have tried ruling from the shadows. But you always fail. Despair consumes you. You realize that the problem is not your strength. At this point, you have far surpassed the original owner of the body. But to be the king, you need fame. And in this business, fame is a death trap. The better known you are, the bigger the target on your back. You feel powerless before this paradox. Suddenly, an idea crosses your mind. If this world is real, why do you have to follow the script? You could disappear without a trace and start a normal life with a new identity. You execute the plan immediately. You flee to a quiet province in Thailand, adopting a new identity as a simple tourist. You are sitting at a street stall, enjoying your favorite cake. Suddenly, you cannot breathe. You are choking. You try to hit your chest, but it is useless. You die suffocated by a piece of sweet dough. As your consciousness fades, you cannot believe that after surviving wars and shootouts, a dessert killed you. You promise yourself to be more careful. But soon, you discover fate's cruel joke. When you try to run from your mission, the universe eliminates you in increasingly ridiculous and creative ways. Slips in the shower, rare infections, absurd traffic accidents. Finally, in loop 179, you manage to decipher the bad luck pattern. You live with extreme caution. Years pass. You grow old. You die peacefully of old age on a beach watching the sunset with a wrinkled and tired body. You close your eyes, waiting for eternal rest. Loop 180. You are back in the room young again. You scream in frustration. You are about to go crazy. You understand the terrible truth. It does not matter how long you live or how you die. If you do not obtain the title of King of Assassins, this loop will never end. Despair clears your mind and leads you to a radical idea, something you had never considered before. If being a criminal leads you to death, what would happen if you switched sides? What would happen if the world's greatest assassin offered his services to the government? You contact one of the nation's highest-ranking officials. You make him a proposal. You will eliminate any enemy he points out in exchange for only one thing: the government's official recognition of you as the King of Assassins. Surprisingly, the man does not look at you with suspicion or contempt. On the contrary, he smiles at you like a friend, praising your desire to abandon the criminal life to serve the country. He tells you that to fully trust you, he needs a proof of loyalty. You must assassinate the leader of a rebel faction that has been causing problems for the state. You accept without hesitation. The operation is ridiculously simple for you. With your current level, the help of Team 7 is unnecessary. You infiltrate the rebel camp like a ghost finding the breaches in security that only someone who has lived hundreds of lives could see. You enter the leader's room while he sleeps. With a simple piece of rope, you help him have a much deeper and eternal sleep. Mission accomplished. You inform the official, who euphoric christens your new unit with the name The Shadow. You return to the base and inform Team 7 that the organization will now operate under the direct command of the government. The news lands like a bombshell. Number 1. Number 2 and Number 4 protest violently refusing to be government puppets. These actions do not change your decision. You make an announcement that leaves them stunned. You say that anyone who wants to leave, whether to join another organization or to retire, is free to do so without punishment. The meeting room falls silent again. No one moves, suspecting it is one of your deadly tests. You do not wait for their reaction. You simply tell them that if they decide to stay, you will see them tomorrow in the meeting room, and you walk out. The next day, you enter the room. Only 3 people remain: Number 3, Number 6, and Number 7. Seeing the empty chairs, Number 3 explodes in fury, screaming that the others are ungrateful traitors. Number 6 leans back in his chair with his usual laziness, but his eyes have a thoughtful depth that no one can understand. Number 7's eyes are red and swollen. She clearly cried all night over the broken family. You are not surprised. After hundreds of loops, you understand their souls better than they do themselves. You know exactly where they have gone. Number 1 and Number 4 will form a rival assassin organization. Number 2 will found a money laundering company. And Number 5 will fulfill his dream of opening a small bakery. With a gesture, you indicate to the loyal 3 that it is time to move. The original Team 7 is dead. The era of the Shadow begins. You begin executing the assassination missions assigned by the government. The targets are diverse, from terrorist cell leaders and untouchable corporate tycoons to dangerous cult leaders. All are individuals. The government cannot openly attack with military forces without causing an international scandal or a civil war. Little by little, your team becomes an extremely effective deterrent force. Enemies of the state begin to disappear or become suspiciously docile. The legend of the Shadow grows more every day. One day you receive the call you were waiting for. The high-ranking official hands you the file for the final mission. He promises you that once this job is completed, the government will mobilize all its machinery to officially crown you as the King of Assassins. you open the folder. The objective is to eliminate a hitman organization that is growing rapidly and challenging the existing order. You do not need to read the names. You know exactly who they are. It is the organization founded by Number 1 and Number 4. The war that follows is incredibly fierce. It is not a clean and fast operation like the previous ones. Number 1 and Number 4 use very unconventional tactics and strategies. The conflict turns into a bloody chess match in the streets. There are ambushes, explosions, and shootouts that last for hours. These two force you to use 100% of your capacity. In fact, they have cost you a life. Maybe in another timeline, they are the heroes who defeat the master. But not in this reality. Finally, you corner them in an abandoned cargo port. Their organization has been destroyed, and they are trapped at the end of the dock out of ammo and wounded. You approach them slowly. Number 1 and Number 4 are sitting on the ground, leaning against a rusted shipping container. There is no fear in their eyes, only a silent acceptance of fate. You stand in front of them with your gun in hand. Before pulling the trigger, you ask them if they have any last words. Number 1 looks you straight in the eyes with blood dripping from his teeth. He asks if you are proud of what the two of them managed to build. You nod solemnly and tell them that you are very proud of them. A peaceful smile appears fleetingly on their faces. 2 shots ring out in the darkness. The mission is over. You return to the Shadow's operational base. The atmosphere is grim. Number 7 approaches you. Her eyes have lost that dangerous and seductive glint that made her famous. With a trembling voice, she tells you she is retiring. She cannot take it anymore. Recent events have been devastating for her psyche. Having to participate in the hunt and extermination of Number 1 and Number 4, whom she considered her brothers and her only family, has shattered her spirit. You nod and allow her to leave without conditions. You know that this emotional impact is brutal for any of the 7. Perhaps if this had happened in your first loops, you too would be consumed by pain and guilt. But the difference between them and you is vast. They only live one life with a single heart that can break. You, on the contrary, have gone through this hell almost 200 times. Your emotions have frozen layer by layer. Your heart no longer feels. It is a cold stone. The only thing occupying your mind is the supreme goal becoming the king of assassins to escape this temporary prison. And then, the government keeps its promise, although through a twisted and Machiavellian path. They do not organize any secret ceremony for you. They decide to use you as the ultimate political tool. They blame you for all the assassinations of high-ranking officials, for every elimination of corrupt businessmen, and for all the illegal activities that the state itself ordered in the last decade. They wash their blood-stained hands by dirtying yours. They make public an inflated list of victims and reveal the structure of your organization to the whole world. The international media explodes in hysteria. On every screen in every newspaper, you are granted the title you have longed for so much. The world fears you and recognizes you. Congratulations. Officially, you have become the king of assassins. You let out a curse filled with rage that echoes off the walls of your room. The media calls you the king of assassins. The government recognizes you, but nothing happens. The world does not disappear. The white light does not appear. You wonder if perhaps you need the recognition of the entire underworld, not just the law. You start to test every possible variant. You lose count of the loops. You no longer know what life number you are in. You have tried everything. You have even gone to the extreme of dominating the entire world through absolute terror, forcing presidents and crime bosses to kneel before you and shout your title. But nothing works. You always wake up again in that bed. The loop continues. Exhausted and empty, you decide to do nothing else. You sit in the dark of the room, thinking, letting time pass. In an endless loop, the truth hits you like a bolt of lightning. You realize that you have been wrong this whole time. The reason why all assassin lives end in tragedy has nothing to do with controlling the body or fighting fate, but resides in the very nature of the assassin path: violence, death, and mutual destruction. No matter how perfect your control is, this path always leads to death, suffering, and an endless loop because it violates the moral law of cause and effect. Violence begets violence. The Sicarii chose the path of extreme violence to seek the freedom of their homeland, and this caused the Roman army to respond with even fiercer violence, leading to the tragedy of the Masada fortress. The ninjas stole secrets from territories, which created greed and led to violence against common people. Both fates symbolize that violence indirectly reaches those around them, or the perpetrators themselves. This third time having total control, you unwittingly chose the path of violence yourself by seeking to become the king of assassins. And the result was that you actively created a spiral of violence. Now you feel genuine remorse. You no longer want to complete the mission just to escape the loop. You decide to abandon the path of violence to seek true salvation and redemption within this infinite time loop. You open your eyes and you are no longer in that dark room. You have returned to heaven. You feel a lump in your throat, a sensation you thought you had lost centuries ago. Your emotions which were dead and buried suddenly revive. You do not know how many years have passed, but for the first time in thousands of lives, you cry. Tears stream down your face uncontrollably. God appears in front of you smiling and congratulates you. You are confused. You ask him with a trembling voice why you have returned if you had not yet completed the mission. God throws the question back at you. He asks you if you have finally understood what the true destiny is. You explain your revelation, that the mission is not to kill, but to break the vicious cycle of hate. God lets out a thunderous laugh. He tells you that human beings are born with the seed of violence inside them. When they were monkeys, they killed each other for food and for the right to mate. When they evolved, they simply traded sticks for weapons to fight senselessly for lands and metals. He says that humanity has tried to eradicate evil with violence. But every time a villain is destroyed with violence, another is born to replace him. Only the form changes. Sin does not diminish, it simply changes places. You ask him if his point is that violence cannot be ended with violence, that it can only be ended with non-violence. God neither nods nor denies. He simply gives you a kind smile and points directly at you.